trying to find an article that contains 2017 movies.
Well, I've got Hollywood Elsewhere, Jeffrey Wells, did a pretty good roundup of a little bit more than 30 movies with some passing mentions of maybe 20 or 25 more. And this is kind of late to be bringing this up, but I mean, to me, the biggies are you can just name the directors. It doesn't even matter about the movies. But Catherine Bigelow has a movie about the 1967 Detroit riots coming out. She's reteaming with her writer Mark Bowl, who she worked with on Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Alexander Payne's got Downsizing, which really sounds very interesting as a sci-fi movie where the cast is shrunk down. I have absolutely no idea how to process this, or the Alexander Payne sci-fi movie with shrunken people. But Matt Damon, Christoph Waltz, Kristen Wiig, Neil Patrick Harris, Alec Baldwin, Jason Sudeikis in the leads. Of course, we got Paul Thomas Anderson coming out with a new Daniel Day-Lewis piece set in the fashion world in London in the 50s. Christopher Nolan has Dunkirk. So that needs to be. Boy, I wonder how the Christopher Nolan fans are going to be able to process Dunkirk, because this will be the first Christopher Nolan film that doesn't have kind of a sci-fi element to it.
Unless he goes back in time. I mean, unless it's a time travel movie.
So
no, it looks good, though. I got to say, it looks good. I mean,
yeah.
I rewatched Insomnia the other night, and I love that. He can tell a straight drama.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess, Insomnia and Memento aren't really sci-fi, so I guess that's a little unfair. But this is definitely a different. I mean, this is not your sort of edgy kind of movie. I mean, if anybody else was directing Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan people would not go and see it. I mean, it just would not be on their radar. So, but of course, we've got the Blade Runner sequel, which needs no more talk. I mean, and we've got the Winston Churchill movie with Gary Oldman absolutely looking like a Best Actor front runner already for next year. And
from one picture.
Yeah, from one picture, which is exactly the same thing that happened with Matthew McConaughey with Dallas Buyers Club. One picture, and everybody was like, "All right, he's going to win it." But Gary Oldman, people love him and are waiting for him to ascend to the Oscar throne. So, but the movie's called Darkest Hour, and the director is Joe Wright. The new Star Wars, of course, which, by the way, I'm seeing Star Wars tomorrow at 10.
You're lucky, man. I hope it goes better than last year. I mean,
yeah, me too. Last year's was ridiculous.
You're watching what?
The new Star Wars, the Rogue One.
Oh.
I'm seeing tomorrow.
Okay.
So they invite me to one. They invite me to one big movie a year, so I'm going to it.
Well, that's the one to do then. That's the one big movie to do this now. I mean,
yeah. Darren Aronofsky has a new movie coming out called Mother with Jennifer Lawrence. It's a home invasion movie, so I don't know how I feel about that. But
I thought it was a remake of the Albert Brooks movie.
Javier Bardem and Michelle Pfeiffer and Ed Harris, Domhnall Gleeson are also in it. Steven Spielberg has The Kidnapping of Eduardo Montera, made from a Tony Kushner screenplay, with Oscar Isaac and Mark Rylance in it. I'm not sure if that will be really a 2017 release. We'll have to see. Todd Haynes has Wonderstruck with Julianne Moore. I don't know exactly what it's about. Julianne Moore, Michelle Williams in the leads. Steven Soderbergh has Logan Lucky, a comedy with Rebecca Blunt as the screenwriter. And the cast is Adam Driver, Channing Tatum, Seth MacFarlane, Katherine Heigl, Hilary Swank, Catherine Waterston, who I love, and Daniel Craig. So we have the Chuck Whitty.
He really never stayed away, did he? I mean, because after he said he was retiring, he started directing The Knick, and now he's back to directing a movie.
So just like we said, I remember saying on the show, he's not going to retire. He can't do anything else. I mean, he just took a little break. He got tired of going through the motions of trying to get a movie made. So I bet that's tiring. John Curran's movie about Chappaquiddick is coming out with I don't know who's playing Ted Kennedy in this, but the stars are Jason Clarke, Kate Mara, and Ed Helms, of all people.
Wow.
I don't know what to expect with that. That could be a dud. Richard Linklater has Last Flag Flying, his sequel to The Last Detail, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
With Bryan Cranston, I think, taking the Jack Nicholson role, and Lawrence Fishburne, I guess, taking the Otis Young role, and I guess I don't know who's playing the Randy Quaid role, but I guess it's just J. Quentin Johnson. Also, Steve Carell is in it. So, but is that unusual or what?
That is.
I mean, who would have ever expected this? But it is based on the original writer, Darryl Ponsikin's novel. So I think he's the original writer of the first piece. So David Gordon Green, one of our favorites, has a Boston Marathon bombing film coming out called Stronger. With Jake Gyllenhaal in the lead as one of the victims that lost his legs in the blast. Tatiana Maslany and Miranda Richardson and Clancy Brown are also in it. George Clooney has a new one called Suburbicon.
Oh wow! It's finally coming out.
Yeah, with directed by Clooney and written by Joel and Ethan Coen. So that should be something interesting. Matt Damon, Julianne Moore, Josh Brolin, and Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac is always busy these days. Guillermo del Toro has The Shape of Water, which is described as an otherworldly story, no surprise there, set against the backdrop of a Cold War era America circa 1963. So that is surprising. With Sally Hawkins, I love her, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Octavia Spencer. So no complaints with that cast. Dan Gilroy has Inner City, with Denzel Washington playing a lawyer that assumes the head of his law firm and finds out that they're dealing dirty against the poor and dispossessed. So there's the Battle of the Sexes, the Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs movie with Emma Stone and Steve Carell in the leads. That sounds very exciting. With Elizabeth Shue, Sarah Silverman, and Alan Cumming, and Andrea Riseborough in the supporting roles. Jason Reitman is coming back with Tully, and is reteaming with his Juno screenwriter, Diablo Cody. I don't know how to feel about that, but it is Charlize Theron, so I liked young adults better than
that could be
better than
good.
Juno. So hopefully that'll be good. Roman Polanski has a new movie coming out, starring his wife Emmanuelle Siegner as a writer whose life and mind are endangered by an obsessive woman played by Ela Green. So it's called Based on a True Story, and it has a screenplay by Olivier Assayas. So that's interesting. Woody Allen's newest movie is a period piece set in a 1950s amusement park, and he's reteaming with Vittorio Storaro, which is really happy news. And this sounds interesting, I think. I think this sounds good. With Kate Winslet, Justin Timberlake, Jim Belushi, Max Casella, and Juno Temple. And Steve Sciarippa, too, from Sopranos. So that's cool. Two Sopranos people in this. Max Casella is in Sopranos as well. Our friend James Ponsoldt has The Circle coming out, and I saw the preview for this, and I think that looks really good.
It does, yeah.
Tom Hanks is kind of a Steve Jobs type character that is introducing a I guess something to. It looks like some kind of like meta kind of version of the Google Glasses thing. But I don't know what to make of it yet, but it does look very interesting. Emma Watson, John Boyega, Patton Oswalt, and Bill Paxton are in the cast, so that sounds good. Vin Vendors has a new one with Submergence with Alicia Vikander and James McAvoy. I'm kind of looking forward to that James McAvoy movie that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's doing.
Yeah. Split. Yeah, that could be good. That could be actually good for a change. I mean,
yeah, it looks good to me. I don't know. It looks very entertaining. Let's see. Alex Garland has who did Ex Machina, has Annihilation coming out with Natalie Portman as and Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's a sci-fi movie, I think. Let's see. Of course, we mentioned Greta Gerwig has her movie Lady Bird coming out, which sounds very autobiographical since it's Sacramento-based, which is where she came from. It's about a young girl preparing to leave home and embark on her own life, but she's not in it. It's Saoirse Ronan as in the lead with Laurie Metcalf, Tracy Letts, our favorite supporting actor, and Lucas Hedges, who's coming off of Manchester by the Sea. So that sounds good. We also have Michael Haneke coming up with Happy Ending, which I'm sure is going to be a misnomer in terms of this director. But it's a family drama. All that's been released on it about it is a family drama that touches on the European immigrant crisis. But it has Isabelle Huppert, Jean-Louis Trintignant, Matthew Kassovitz in the leads. Andrew Sorkin has a new one called Molly's Game.
If Michael Haneke's films all had titles that were faithful to their material, they'd all be called Kill Yourself.
They would be. They would be like Write the Note, Turn on the Gas, Sharpen the Knives. Danny Boyle's Trainspotting sequel looks fantastic.
Yeah, oh, good.
I think. I mean, that looks great. I think that 2017 is going to be a better year because, you know, you hear all these names. I mean, and I'm not even mentioning, you know, Lars von Trier has a new one coming out called The House That Jack Built. There's a new one by Tomas Alfredson, the director of Let the Right One In, called The Snowman. There's a new Lynn Ramsey, You Were Never Really Here. There's a new Edgar Wright, Baby Driver. There's a new Sofia Coppola, which is her remake of The Beguiled with who is it? Colin Farrell, and I know that Kirsten Dunst is in it. There's a few other. I can't remember all the. I think one of the Fannings, Elle Fanning, is in it. Doug Liman has American Made coming out. Noah Baumbach has a very unusually titled movie called Yen Din Kakissa.
I remember. Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, wow. It's going to be a very busy fall, from what you're saying. It's going to be a very busy fall.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, you know, and of course a new Terrence Malick, Weightless, with Ryan Gosling and Christian Bale, Natalie Portman, Rooney Mara, Cate Blanchett, Val Kilmer, Benicio del Toro, and Michael Fassbender. Who knows who'll make it in the final cut, but. And then, of course, we cannot forget what is probably going to be the film event of the year, even though it won't be taking place on the big screen. It will be David Lynch's Twin Peaks series. Which
That's true.
He's directing every episode, so we've been starved for some new Lynch for a long time, and this looks like it's going to overstuff us